let's talk a little Clemson football. I'll give you the floor first because I think I'm going to be long-winded here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But let me just start off with this. They're a senior-led team, and senior-led teams win a lot of football games. Go ahead. What do you think about Clemson in this deep dive?
As a known Dabo Sweeney hater, it pains me to give them this much credit. But as he talked, he's corny. I mean, we talked about it during the football season. But look, I'm willing to put my bias aside. I'm also a Notre Dame fan. There's been a bit of a recent rivalry between Clemson and Notre Dame. I'm putting my bias aside though to critically evaluate this team. They are so freaking talented on the defensive side of the football. Might be one of the best defensive teams that they have coming back. They had issues last year in some games, but this team is now experienced. I look at the fact that they're returning Tyler Davis and Rukaroro, who are explosive interior defensive linemen. Very, very explosive, dominant, high potential players who are getting better every single season. Their linebacker duo is the best linebacker duo in the country. Jeremiah
I don't disagree with that.
And Barrett Carter. They are going to rack up a crap ton of tackles.
Well, and Joe, the white kid, what's his name? Wade Woodaz. Woodaz was making a lot of plays last year too. Continue.
Yeah. On the defensive backfield, they've got Andrew Makuba. I probably mispronouncing that. And then RJ Mickens. That grouping across the board, I've got dudes in every single position group. They're going to be so hard to move the ball against. It is going to be a difficult task. I just need to see what happens for them offensively. They're not as deep as Florida State. They're not as deep as some of these SEC teams. But defensively, they're built to slow teams down, not give up a lot of points. What is going to help them take that next step is Garrett Riley taking over this offense.
Agreed.
I am very high on Cade Klubnik. I think that Cade Klubnik has every capability to be one of the biggest breakout players of this season. We'll be talking about him in the same light as we did with Drake Maye last year if everything goes according to plan. Garrett Riley got so much out of Max Duggan that he won the Davey O'Brien last year.
And that dude stinks.
Cade Klubnik.
That dude stinks, don't it?
Cade Klubnik is going to have a massive season. They lost their left tackle, but a lot of those offensive linemen return. Will Shipley is one of the better running backs in the country, top 2 running back in the ACC, right behind Trey Benson. I just need to know, though, and this isn't like a massive question mark. This isn't a massive concern. Who the hell is he throwing the football to? Because over the past couple of seasons, he's had issues at receiver.
This is where we're going to disagree. Joe, I you know this about me, and so you can shed light on the people in the comments who would say differently. Mm-hmm. Dude, I watch a crap load of film. You know that. It's just something that I do. I think, can I tell you here's a hot take. You ready? I don't think they got an issue at receiver. I think they had an issue at quarterback. Because when I turn on the all 22 copy and you have Cole Turner running wide open being missed, when you have Bo Collins, the big body wide receiver, running wide open and getting missed, and I think the biggest sleeper wide receiver in the ACC, Antonio Williams in the slot, DJ Uiagalelei missed. DJ missed too many dudes. I get that you're down 14 against Notre Dame. I get that. I know you had a punt blocked. I know that you let, what's the dude's name? The number 10 from last year, Notre Dame's quarterback. Why is his name slipping my mind?
Drew Pine.
Drew Pine. I know on his own read you let Drew Pine get in there. Man, they were not out of that game. They were not out of that game. They had drove the ball 57 yards on Notre Dame and threw a pick. Cade Klubnik comes in and then makes a freshman mistake in a wrong moment, has a pick. I forget the kid, number 20 for Notre Dame. DJ throws the worst out route I've ever seen in my life, and I think his name's Campbell, number 20 for Notre Dame. If I don't remember, but he has the pick six.
I think it was Benjamin Morrison.
You cannot tell me that they did not have receivers running wide ass open when I got it on film. He missed him. He flat out missed him. Antonio Williams, here's a stat for you. Guess what ACC receiver had more separation than any wide receiver in the country last year from an ACC perspective?
It was Antonio
Williams. Guess who got underthrown more than anybody in the country?
Antonio
Williams. My point being is they have recruited really well at that position. You go back and look. Antonio Williams, Bo Collins, Cole Turner, all top 100 dudes. Actually, almost all of them top 60 dudes. When I turn on the film and see the separation, if you're Garrett Riley, who, let's call it what it is a fantastic offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
When I see that, I'm thinking to myself, like, good googly moogly. Okay, so it really wasn't as much scheme as we once thought it was. Joe, listen to me. Listen to me. You cannot argue when you call a play and you have a receiver wide ass open and he gets missed. You cannot call that on the offensive play calling.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to deflect. Their lack of production last year was very underwhelming, and they definitely could have been a lot better in the passing game. I think that I look at back what not only we're talking about here with Cade Klubnik's progression and in his performance this upcoming season, the ceiling is very high. But I also take a look at what happened with TCU last year. Now, there's no Quentin Johnston on this Clemson team. There's not. We can't sit here and pretend that there is. Quentin Johnston.
I disagree.
Quentin Johnston was already a really talented player who took that next step. He was already being talked about as a first-round wide receiver.
I think Bo Collins can be that guy, man.
Okay, see, that's where I disagree. But my point is, wait.
When he is mossing,
mm-hmm.
You just talked about Fentrell Cypress, correct? Bo Collins mossed his ass in the back of the end zone.
There are good receivers that are talented.
Look,
I just don't think they're.
I'm going to use this Paw Patrol walkie-talkie. Bo Collins is mossing that dude now.
I don't think that there is a 1,200-yard receiver, 1,100-yard receiver in this group. I think it's a balanced group. There are some good football players. But what happened with TCU last year, anyone who likes film, and you especially, I was so just drawn in by the scheme called by Garrett Riley. There were so many games where guys were just wide open. You're like, how did that guy get so wide open? It's random slot receivers. There aren't any massive big name guys that were getting as open as they were and picking up big chunk yardage after the catch. That is what is going to set them up for success, is because schematically, he is one of the brightest minds of college football that deserves to be talked about in that category. And sometimes I get clowned on for talking about Garrett Riley so much, but the guy's a really damn good play caller, and they're going to only get better this year. They're going to be so much more explosive offensively.
I agree with that. I'm not saying that it was all hunky-dory.
Yeah.
Schematically. Okay. Now that we're getting back, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that they got better at the quarterback position. I think they still got some talented guys along the offensive line. Here's the problem that I have with them. Blake Miller's more than likely going to start left tackle. Tristan Lee's going to start right tackle. Two highly, highly recruited guys. Two really good prospects. Putnam at center, their interior of their offensive line got pushed around. Okay? They got to get better there. Let's see if they can do that. Here's Jake Briningstool. I think is a tight end that can make some waves in a Garrett Riley type of offense. I think he's a red zone mismatch. I like that matchup with him. Can he live up to the hype? Defensively is where they're going to make their bones. 10 of the 11 starters are 3 years in the program or more. 9 of the 11 are 4-year guys or more, seniors or more, grad guys. They got Peter Woods, the 5-star defensive tackle that I think is going to rotate and start and play a lot. You talk about Rook Ororo. I think he's really good along the defensive line. My only question is their secondary. Can they hold up in that secondary? I like what they have at the linebacker position. I think Woodaz is really good. I also believe that Jeremiah Trotter and Barrett Carter are two guys that are really, really dynamic. Khalil Barnes is another kid in there that I think is going to get a lot of rotation. Can Nate Wiggins, who was a top 50 prospect, can Jalen Phillips, who was a top 50 prospect, can those secondary pieces hold up? Here's the thing with me with Clemson, though. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Can Cade Klubnik be the guy that we anticipate him to be? There was a lot to be desired last year from him. He's got to take that next step forward. He can't make some of those freshmen's mistakes that he did against Notre Dame. He can't make some of those freshman mistakes that he did against Tennessee. I think that they're going to be better. Okay. Does them being better, can they beat Notre Dame on November the 4th in Clemson? I think that they can, but their schedule isn't that difficult. They have Duke, Charleston Southern, Florida Atlantic, Florida State. We talked about that game. Syracuse, Wake Forest, Miami, NC State, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, South Carolina. I think they could. I think that they could go 11-1. I really do believe that they could go 11-1. I think Garrett Riley. And look, you know what else I was thinking about too? Mm-hmm. We do not talk enough about how we give so much criticism to Dabo, rightfully warranted. Okay. Man knew that he had to go make a splash higher on the offensive side of things. And you know what, Joe? He did. You got to give him a tip of the cap to that one. Let me ask you this, though. I know I'm gonna throw you an outright Barry Zito-sized curveball. You ready?
All right.
If you feel so good about Cade Klubnik, why did they go out and get Paul Tyson in a team that does not go and get transfers?
Because you need depth. Like who you need? Paul Tyson is Paul Tyson good enough to start? Like I don't think that he is.
My question would be, okay, you got the Vincenza kid, okay, a top 2 quarterback in college or recruiting last year. Vincenza is going to be a guy. Okay, I think we agree with that. Vincenza is a really good player. You got Trent Pierman, who's also pretty good, and you got Hunter Helms that's also there. Why you go get Paul Tyson with a team that you don't get recruits from or guys from?
Because Paul Tyson was never going to start at Alabama. He's never going to start at Clemson. You need to have a little bit of depth because, so in all seriousness, like what if I think that's more telling of a lack of confidence in the quarterback room as a whole and not about Cade Klubnik. You got to have a good backup that you can trust. He was a 3-star recruit. He's an okay football player. And if something goes horribly, horribly wrong, I might be able to trust him to come out on the field. I've never seen him play. Like we haven't seen him play.
Or
don't say something crazy.
Okay. Too bad. When Saban retires, getting Paul Tyson, Bear Bryant's grandson, maybe Dabo's making a move.
Oh, you're saying
that was Bear Bryant's grandson.
This is the conspiracy theory of all.
What a conspiracy theory, isn't it? Isn't that a conspiracy theory for you?
Oh my God!
You didn't see that Barry Zito-sized curveball coming, did you?
No, I did not. I probably could have guessed that you were going to take it down some crazy ass path like that.
It is interesting.
It's plausible.
They don't take transfer portal guys. I think you want to know the truth. Here's the truth. Dabo played for Bear. He's taking care of his grandson. Okay, that's the real truth. I mean, like,
yeah.
As much as I'm over here clowning, okay, the truth is that's his coach's grandson. All right.